Welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another very awesomely in-depth analytic Spider-Man PS4 related video. And today we are mainly going to be discussing about the one factor that either a lot of people are super pumped for or a lot of people are not really looking forward to, and that is Miles Morales within Spider-Man PS4. Now, I have a couple of other videos that I will be doing in regards to Miles. This one is mainly talking about his role in the story, what Insomniac have said about Miles, why is he in the game, what type of role is he going to have, and mainly kind of speculating about if he is Spider-Man or not, and also whether or not he will dominate the story, because even though Insomniac have said that this is mainly a Peter Parker story, and that the best stories are when Peter Parker's world and Spider-Man's world collide, Miles is still in the game, and if you guys know a lot about Miles Morales, then that may not end well for Peter. But basically, what we are going to be doing in this video is talking about what has been going around with Insomniac in regards to Miles. So, first off, there was this really quick Periscope video that Insomniac put on their Twitter page. I'm going to try my best to find it, but it was really back when the E3 demo was just shown at E3, and also it just kind of briefly talked about Miles and his involvement within the story. And if you guys know of him, James Stevenson, the community head at Insomniac Games, he was part of that Periscope interview. And basically, someone asked the question, how old is Miles in the game? Because a lot of people, oddly enough, are thinking that Miles is like in his 20s, or like he's in his 30s even, because they think he looks old for some reason. I don't think he looks old. I think he does look like a proper teenager would look like. And what Insomniac have said, specifically Brian Intihar, the game's creative director, he said during the Periscope is that he is younger than Peter for sure. He's definitely younger than Peter, and he is also in his teens. He's a teenager. Again, is that 13, 14, 15, 16, 17? We don't know exactly how old Miles is in the game, but still, it is going back to that comic book aspect of how he is young, and most likely is learning from the best of the best, which is Spider-Man. That's a theory that people are having, is that Miles Morales is already Spider-Man in this game, and that he might be taught by Peter Parker during the game throughout the main component of the story, because of how another theory is that near the end of the demo, you see Mr. Negative grab Spider-Man when he goes full-blown Mr. Negative, because one of Mr. Negative's powers is that if you get touched by Mr. Negative, you become your opposite self, which means that Peter might become evil in the game's story, or at least during a part of a level or something. And people are thinking that if Peter becomes evil, then you can control Miles as a character during the game, so that way you can go after Peter and make sure that he doesn't kill anybody or do anything evil, and then make sure that you save the city, and while you're trying to become Spider-Man as Miles Morales, because that is the main question. As you can see by my thumbnail, is Miles Spider-Man? That's the big question. Is Miles Morales already Spider-Man in this universe? Is he actually involved with Peter? Like, does Peter know Miles? Does he know that they connect with each other? Nothing like that has been really said on Insomniac's Twitter page or their interviews during E3. Nothing like that was really discussed about. It's just that, mainly, again, this is a Peter Parker story, but Miles has a role in that story. He is not just a cameo, everybody. He does actually have some role to play within the main aspect of this narrative that Insomniac are trying to tell during this story. And if you have seen my previous video, is that Insomniac and Bill Roseman directly recommended an IGN article listing 6 essential graphic novels for Spider-Man fans to read in order to prepare for this story that Insomniac and Marvel are crafting for this game, and how 2 of which of the comics that were recommended were comics involving Miles Morales. Specifically, the first volume of Miles Morales as Spider-Man in the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, where Miles first became Spider-Man, and also Spider-Man, where 616 Spider-Man / Peter Parker and the Ultimate Universe Miles Morales meet up with each other for the first time. So those are 2 big graphic novel inspirations for this game's story, and since Miles is involved with the game, hopefully they can continue on with making a narrative just like they did in those comics, because if you haven't read Spider-Man, I highly recommend you go out and read it. It's one of my most loved comics that I've ever read involving the 616 Peter, and how his connection with the Ultimate Universe's Miles is very, very cool. And if they were to implement that relationship into this game, I think we could get some really cool comic book / video game moments with Spider-Man and Miles. Kind of to reference another game is Batman Arkham Knight, of course. Batman Arkham Knight is my favorite Batman Arkham game. The relationship alone between Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon in that game, along with Tim Drake and Batman, and just all the characters in that game in general relating to Batman and or Bruce Wayne, specifically with Arkham Knight. And if you guys know who the Arkham Knight is, I won't spoil it, even though you should know who it is that Arkham Knight and Batman have some history with each other, and how they handled that in that game was simply amazing. So if they were to do something similar like that with Miles and Peter, I could get behind that 100%. And I mainly will talk about this in another video, but my thoughts of should Miles be in the game, because again, this is a Peter Parker story. Peter Parker is the main character, / Spider-Man is the main character of this game, and Miles is just a side character in the story. But as you can see in his facial animations, he's clearly well rendered. We see Miles before we even get to see Peter Parker. We don't even know what Peter Parker looks like. We already see what Miles looks like, but not Peter Parker. So I'm both kind of really agitated by that and excited by that at the same time, that Insomniac or Marvel or Sony or whoever is in control of showing what was shown during E3, is that they showed Miles' face and they showed that Miles is actually in the game, but we didn't even get to see Peter Parker, or, you know, what Peter Parker looks like, or even if there is fully free-roaming Peter Parker in the game, because Insomniac have confirmed that Peter is handled really well in the story, and Brian Idhar was talking about that very passionately during his interviews. So really, even though he didn't say it, he kind of did say it without saying it, is that there will be Peter Parker gameplay in Spider-Man PS4. Will it be free roam? Will it be that we can just freely switch between Peter Parker and Spider-Man walking through the streets of New York? I really hope so, but we don't know for sure. But with Miles, is that Miles is a character that most often of times can't really be around in the comic books by himself without seeming kind of bland. Meaning is that Miles, when he's just by himself in the comics, he is a really great character, and the relationships that he has with his friends, with his uncle, the Prowler, you know, because in the Ultimate Universe, his uncle is actually the Prowler, Aaron Davis, and in the stories with Miles, he mainly has to relate to at least one other Peter Parker-related character in order to make his stories feel more robust and more kind of flawed out, or fledged out, I should say. Because in the comics, we have Gwen Stacy talking a lot to Miles Morales, and Miles Morales talks to his friend Gank, which that's his side of his story, is that he's friends with this kid named Gank, and Miles and Gank have really good chemistry with each other. Just like we see in Spider-Man Homecoming, they're clearly taking inspiration from the comics, where Ned Leeds in Spider-Man Homecoming is obviously Gank. I mean, he is Gank. There's no way to look around is that Ned Leeds in Spider-Man Homecoming is totally 100% Gank. I'm sorry, but they full-on went with the Ultimate Miles Morales storyline for Spider-Man Homecoming, which is why I'm not really as excited as I am for this game with the movie. But mainly with Miles, is he going to be shoved down our throats specifically? Because what I was just saying is that Miles Morales is very great when talking with another Peter Parker character, like I said, Gwen Stacy. Another version is Aunt May and Mary Jane. When they talk to each other, it seems like they have kind of a connection, because Peter is always kind of the focus of that story. But where you just have Miles with himself, when he also teams up with the other superheroes in the Ultimate Universe comics, in those stories, they're fun. But mainly if you just have Miles by himself doing something standalone without anyone else near him, it's kind of bland. I do like Miles, but specifically with how they're going to handle him based on the comics, is that mainly the connection between Miles and Peter is where the game is going to thrive if they do know each other. Because again, we don't know if Peter knows Miles already. We don't know if Miles is Spider-Man, but specifically what Insomniac has said in interviews and on their Twitter is that Miles, first off, Miles is involved in the story. He is a character within the story. He's not a cameo. He is actually a character in the story. Second off, he's a teenager, so he's young, and if Peter does know Miles, then maybe he can try and hone him to be a better person or superhero. But basically what we see at the end of the trailer is that when he's looking at the helicopter and he's smiling at his friend Gank, is that it looks like he's just seeing Spider-Man for the first time. Like, I'm sure he's seen him already, or he's heard a lot about him, But since Peter has been Spider-Man for 8 years in this game, he's 23 years old, he got bitten by the spider at age 15, and now he's kind of very experienced, he's a full-on adult, and in this original story that Insomniac is crafting with Marvel, seeing how Miles is part of that story, is going to be very interesting to see how that's played out. But mainly, my one concern and my one gripe is that we see Miles and is heavily influenced within Spider-Man Homecoming. Like I just said, Gank is in the movie. It's Ned Leeds, but let's face it, it's totally Gank. In the cartoon, the new Marvel Spider-Man cartoon, even though they're basing that a lot off of Spider-Man Homecoming, you do get a little bit of a Miles Morales vibe where he has that homemade suit on, just like where Miles started in the comics, where he had that kind of Halloween Spider-Man costume on. So it kind of is like that, like a just makeshift Halloween-esque Spider-Man costume, even though it's clearly trying to rip off the Vigilante Spider suit, the homemade suit from Spider-Man Homecoming in the Marvel Spider-Man cartoon. But in the game is that even though Miles is a very cool character, he's very awesome with his stories, specifically where Venom in the Miles Morales comic kills his mom. I believe that he does, that the Venom in the Miles Morales universe of comics kills Miles Morales' mom, and then she dies, and then that ends up Miles having to do the same thing as Peter again. He does the same things like Peter does in his comics, where Spider-Man, no more. Peter Parker throws out the Spider-Man suit because he doesn't want to be Spider-Man because of all the pressure that he's feeling. Same thing with Miles, he just follows in Peter's footsteps. He's not Spider-Man anymore because his mom died by Venom. She got killed in the crossfire by the whole Venom attack that was going on there. And also the whole relationship that he has with his dad is very interesting too, and mainly with the tragedy of his uncle, you know, Aaron Davis, the Prowler. So hopefully we do get a nice inclusion of Miles within the game's story, but me specifically, since I believe the only Spider-Man, or at least the main Spider-Man in my eyes, is Peter Parker, because I do also like the other iterations of Spider-Man, like Miguel O'Hara, Miles Morales, all the Spider-Women, Spider-Girls, you know, all the variations of Spider-Man I do love and appreciate, but mainly with Miles, I just really hope that they don't drown him in this game. It's going to be cool seeing him within the story of this game, but I do have my concerns. But don't worry, I'm going to get that into a whole nother video, is should Miles Morales be within Spider-Man PS4. This is mainly just kind of breaking down what Insomniac have said, what we can hopefully expect with Miles within the story of this game, and just see where we think Insomniac can take this story in regards to Miles Morales. So that is all for this video, everybody. I know it was kind of short, and I know I just kind of repeated myself a lot. There really isn't a lot to talk about with Miles, is because we don't know a lot about him. We just know that he has a role in the story. He's younger than Peter, he is a teenager, and he is not a cameo. He actually does have a full-on role within the story of Spider-Man PS4. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know your input. Do you like Miles? Do you think he should be in the game? Do you think that he's Spider-Man already? Do you think that he is actually bitten by a spider and he actually is a Spider-Man? Do you think we will be able to play as Miles? I don't think we will be able to play as Miles. I don't think it's going to be a co-op game. Again, Insomniac have said this is a Peter Parker story, so I think that would just kind of hinder the fact of their very first Spider-Man game to be a co-op game featuring Miles Morales. I don't think that would be a good take on it, but who knows. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.